And welcome to our first ever edition of CDGTV. I'm your host, Christian Gonzales, the co-owner of Creativity Design Group. Joining me today is my good friend and colleague, Anthony Lindsay of Astor Business Centers, and my panelist in the United Kingdom, Lauren Hicks. Welcome, guys. Thank you for joining me today.
Thanks for having us.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for joining. So we are going to be
Takes my
talking...
mind off the day, so it's nice. It's nice to get involved.
Right. Today we are going to be talking about the importance of having a business address and why every business owner should use a physical address versus a PO box or using their home address. And we're also going to be talking about the importance of local SEO and how business owners need to focus on keeping their websites optimized, keeping their content optimized so that people who are searching for them online can find them easily. And that's the importance of local SEO. I am going to start the show with Anthony. He is going to introduce us to Astor Business Centers, as well as the importance of having a physical business address. Yes, Anthony, the floor is yours. Please tell us a little bit about yourself and your company, and I will get your slide deck going in just a few minutes.
Thank you. So my name is Anthony Lindsay. My company is Astor Business Centers. And at Astor Business Centers, we are here to support small businesses. We focus and have a passion for businesses with a turnover of less than $250,000. Now, what we found, and in my background, I found that if you have a high turnover, if you have a lot of marketing dollars to spend, there's more than enough companies that will service your business. But what you'll find is the smaller businesses, they either cannot find someone who will do a quality job, or they're stuck in a situation of spending more money than they actually can afford to spend. So we started Astor Business Centers as a turnkey business solution. So we do everything from branding to business consultation and everything in between. But today, what we're going to talk about is a physical address as opposed to a PO box. Now, quite often when people are starting a business, they tend to do things in the wrong order. So the analogy that I always use is if someone were to ask me for my PIN, maybe I'd just give them my PIN, but I wouldn't give it to them in the right order. So if I gave them 4 digits that are contained within my PIN, but I didn't give it to them in the right order, they'd never be able to unlock what's in my account. And what I find with business owners quite often when they're first getting started, they tend to do things in the wrong order. And because they do things in the wrong order, they end up in a situation where they're not unlocking their full potential. So what we're going to talk about today is why you need a business address and a business phone number. Now, the first reason that I would say you need a business address and a business phone number is to protect your privacy. So many of our customers tend to be female business owners who can do the majority of what they do online. But what they want to do is make sure that they are protected. So if they have their personal address on any of their business materials, it puts them potentially in a place where people could just arbitrarily just show up where they live, or a list of other really unsavory things. So you want to protect your privacy. You want to protect your personal address, because the nature of the internet now is people can search anything. So you don't want your personal details anywhere near the internet. So a private business address with Astor Business Centers will give you that protection and give you that veil around your personal address. The other thing that you want to do is make sure that you establish a physical presence. So because Google likes local, if you are let's just say like Christian, you are providing web design or you're providing graphic design, you can do that from Houston but you can service customers anywhere in the country and potentially anywhere in the world.
And we
Now,
do.
and you do. So Google likes local. So one of the things that you can do is you can establish a physical presence anywhere you want to using a virtual address. Now, a lot of people don't really understand what a virtual address is. So I'm going to explain that in a little bit more detail. So a virtual address works similar to how the old mailboxes, etc., used to operate. So it's a physical place. Within that physical location, they have suite numbers. The difference between a virtual address and the old school PO boxes or mailboxes, etc. model is that with a virtual address, you get all the benefits of having that physical address, but you also get the convenience of technology. So what happens is when your physical mail arrives at that location, it is processed by a mail operator. And what they do is they essentially scan the outside of that letter. So let's just say it's a bill from Comcast. They scan the outside of that letter, they upload it to the app, and then you get a notification that would say you have mail. You can see the outside of that letter. Now, once you see that, you have several options. You could ask the operator to open that mail. And the only way the operator would ever be able to open that mail is with your request. So you could ask them to open it. You could ask them to open it and scan it. It may be something from, let's just say, Pizza Hut. So you may not even want to know anything else about it. So you could ask for it to be recycled. Or alternatively, you could see that it's something that you want to be kept private. So you could ask the mail operator to just hold it and you can go by and pick it up. Finally, you could ask for it to be forwarded. So you have several options. So it's a physical piece of mail going to a physical address, but you have full control over it. And because it's in the app, the other thing that it does is 6 months from now, you'd be able to access that mail through your app. So we always encourage people to protect their personal details by having a virtual mailbox, and it also helps them to establish a physical presence in any city or state that they're trying to get more SEO behind. The other thing is your EIN. Now, we always recommend that people form some type of business structure other than a DBA, because obviously a DBA, or doing business as, isn't going to give you personal protection as a business. So it's just an individual operating under another name. There's very little safety nets if something goes wrong, and you could be sued personally. So we'd always suggest that people either set up a LLC, a corporation, S Corp, or C Corp. Now, when you're establishing that business, you're going to get something called an EIN, or an employer identification number. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is if you structure your business properly, if you do things in the right order, you can build your EIN to a point that when you go to get financing, you no longer have to be a personal guarantor against your business. So you might see on some applications, it will ask you for your social security number, and you're a PG, or a personal guarantor on that loan. And by not leveraging your EIN, you're actually missing a trick. You're missing one of the greatest benefits of setting up a business in the first place. And you're missing one of the greatest benefits of having a separate EIN, because the EIN is a fresh start for you. The EIN gives you an opportunity, regardless of your personal credit score that is attached to your social security number. Your EIN is a fresh score that you can build. And the reason why that's relevant in a conversation about virtual addresses is in establishing your EIN and getting yourself to a point where you can get credit without using your social security number. You have to follow quite a stringent process to do it quickly. So you could realistically go from starting a business with a virtual address or business address and a business phone number to get into a point where you can get credit cards, loans, etc., just off your EIN. You can get there in about 8 months. I know people who own businesses that have been in business for years or even decades that still haven't leveraged their EIN. Now, let me just backtrack a little bit. We did talk a lot about the business address. A business phone number is also important because that's going to allow you to be able to separate your personal life from your business life. So by having a business phone number, it means when you're with your family and it's outside of your business hours, you can choose not to answer business calls. So it helps you have a really good work-life balance. We use GoDaddy. GoDaddy has a great phone service. So what it will do is it will give you a business phone number, but you don't have to walk around with another phone. You can attach that business phone number to your phone. You can set business hours, and when someone rings your business phone, it will ring on your handset, but it will identify that it's a business call and not a personal call. So in establishing your business address, we always recommend that you also establish a separate business phone number, because we've had instances where we're calling clients that are using their personal phone number, and they'll pick up in a very informal way. Now, it's okay because it's us, but what if it was a customer? What if it was someone calling your coaching business or your business support business, and you answered the phone, hey? It doesn't project a very professional image, which brings me to my fourth and final point. Having a professional business address, especially if you choose the location carefully, it can project a more professional image. So the way that the addresses work, it would be a physical street location, so 123 Main Street, and then behind that, it would then say suite whatever. So it could be 123 Main Street, suite A, it could be suite A1. So it's not going to be a P.O. box. And as far as credibility, as far as professionalism, if someone's doing business with you, when they go to your website, a lot of people are going to want to see that there is a physical address. Not having a physical address, it can impact your credibility online, but it will certainly impact your SEO. Because one of the other things is, if you want to register for Google My Business, they're going to need to verify a business address. They won't verify a P.O. box. Now, I do want to say that there is a caveat, because there's not one catch-all. I operate more than one virtual mailbox location, and we can verify Google My Business because we have physical offices at our locations. There are some operators that, because of their location or because of their business formation, may not be able to verify the Google My Business. So when you open your virtual mailbox, or I should say before you open your virtual mailbox, virtual office, or your business address, what you want to do is check with the operator to make sure that you can verify your address through Google My Business, because Google My Business is one of the most powerful free tools to help build credibility, because people can leave reviews. It also helps you build your SEO. You can use Google My Business to do posts. You can use Google My Business to sell products. You can have a buy now, call now, learn more button on your Google My Business profile. But more importantly, it makes you look and operate like a serious business. And if you're in a industry that has a lot of competition, like Christian or like myself, one of the things that you want to do is stand out. And one of the ways you can stand out is by having good 5-star reviews on Google, because people trust those reviews. When someone goes to a website and just sees a testimonial that is written and it just has a random picture, there's no way of really validating that. But people tend to trust the Google reviews. So by having a Google My Business profile, it gives you the ability to get the Google reviews. And you need a physical address for that. So there's quite a few reasons why you want to make sure that you have a business address and a business phone number. So just to recap, it's going to protect your privacy. So if privacy is important to you, and in today's world it really should be, you're definitely going to want to get a business address. It can establish a physical presence. So when you're doing your SEO strategy, and I think Christian is going to touch on that, when you're doing your SEO strategy, you're going to need a physical presence because Google likes local. The other reason why you want to make sure that you have a business address is it can help you build your EIN, which will help build your EIN business credit, which will move you to a point that you can get finance, you can get credit cards, you can get loans. Even if you personally have a bad credit score, your business could have a good credit score. And just as a tip, make sure you register your business with Dun & Bradstreet. And then the fourth and final point was around projecting a more professional business image. So one thing that I haven't mentioned is the price. So you may have heard everything that I've said and think to yourself, wow, I know I need this now, but it's probably too expensive. At most locations, including ours, you can get a basic business address for about $10 a month, depending on the products or services you want to attach to that. If you want to attach a business phone number, if you want to attach a business listing at our location. So when someone comes into the physical location, they can see your company name. If you want physical marketing, etc., the price might be more. But if you just need the address, you just want somewhere that can help you protect your privacy and establish a physical presence, it starts out at about $9.99. If you need more information, we are Astor Business Centers. You can just Google us. You'll see our 5-star reviews through our Google My Business, and I'm sure Christian will share more information. I really appreciate everyone that's watching, and if anyone has any questions, Lauren, if you have any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
I just have one thing to say on the phone number thing. It's important to have a business number separate than your what's called your private number, because sometimes if you get a harassing customer, you don't want them calling you while you're on holiday with your kids or whatever, do you?
Exactly.
You know, don't want people constantly ringing you and hounding you on your private number. So that's important as well, to keep business and private separately.
Yeah, we're a big fan of a work-life balance because it doesn't make sense working and having no one to share the fruits of your success with. So you know, work hard, play hard, but make sure you separate that work time from that personal time. And as you said, Lauren, having that business phone number can help you accomplish that.
And Anthony, I am watching the chat for questions. I do have one question here. It's from Pecanhead. That's his YouTube name. And I know him. He lives out in the Rosenberg area, and he runs a business out of home reselling toys. And he's saying in the chat, I've been in business for roughly a year. I'm the only owner and employee, and I run the business out of my house. Which of these steps would benefit me? I don't have a website because I don't believe I need one, because all of my traffic goes through the Amazon site. So he resells through Amazon, but he wants to know specifically how could he benefit from having a business address. And you've covered many points that explain that, but in his personal case, what would you say?
So in his personal case, if his address is listed anywhere, I could right now go on Google it, see a picture of his house. Just that thought, as a family person, as someone with children, as someone with a wife, that in and of itself is just something I'm not comfortable with. Now, also, you said something really interesting, and I hear people say this all the time. They don't need a website. Well, no, you don't need a website, but your customers quite often expect you to have one. So I'm not suggesting that someone has a website instead of what they're doing, because that gentleman might be hugely successful with what he's doing, but having a website is not going to in any way negatively impact that. Having a website also means you own it, because you don't own your Amazon store. You don't own those other platforms. That's why, if you notice, quite often now, I was watching a podcast by Russell Brand, and he was highlighting, make sure you join my mailing list, make sure you subscribe to this, make sure you subscribe to that, because when you don't own the platform, you don't own the customers. And Amazon is notorious for siphoning business, taking business ideas, customers, etc. So to emphasize, a website is not an instead of, it's an in addition to. And I would imagine you probably have quite a lot going on, and a website might be something that's a back burner issue. But I always encourage people to have that as an addition to, and you can funnel that information or direct that information right back to your sales page. But I would recommend having a business address, having a website, even if it's just a landing page.
Mm-hmm. That's right. And the only time that having a website can harm you is if you're building it on a free platform like Wix or Weebly or Squarespace. And we did a whole podcast episode about this a few months ago. It does reflect badly on your brand and your company when you're using a free website builder that has their advertising all over it. And again, it's another platform that you can't manage or hold on to. SEO does become problematic on these free platforms, and the most unprofessional part of it is your domain. It's usually mybusinessname.wix.com or .weebly.com, and that doesn't look professional at all.
Yeah, and in addition to that, I always point out to people is the difference between owning and renting.
Mm-hmm.
Like, do you want to own your website? Do you want to own your customer content? Do you want to own it, or do you want to rent it from a company who? And I know Christian, you'd probably agree with me. These platforms are better than not having anything, and they're potentially a good in addition to. And if you just feel like, you know what, I don't want to pay Christian, I don't want to pay Anthony to do this, and I'm going to do it myself, because maybe you don't have the budget. But do keep in mind, as you add functionality to those platforms, the Wix, the Squarespace, etc., every time you want to add a piece of functionality, it's going to cost you more per month. So you might go from the introductory offer of whatever to, oh, now I want to add this. And now it's gone up, it's gone up, it's gone up. So what you'll find is, in a year, you've probably spent as much as or more than you would have paid Christian to build something as user friendly, as visually attractive. But then the next year you have to spend that again, and the next year you have to spend that again, and the next year. So in a couple of years, you've spent triple the money, and the moment you don't pay that subscription fee, it's gone.
That's right. And on top of that, there's also limited functionality available in these platforms too, versus if you're on WordPress, there are thousands of plugins you can choose from to extend the functionality of your site. Versus on Wix or Weebly, yeah, they'll bill you extra for this, but they also don't offer as much. They don't have as much you can get out of it. Versus on WordPress, you have all these plugin choices. WordPress, which is what me and Anthony both use when we build our websites for clients, is it's very versatile. You can build pretty much any type of website you want on WordPress. That's what I like about it. And on Wix,
yeah, I was going to say, and then the other thing is, it's a global standard. So, not everybody's going to want to work with Christian. Not everyone's going to want to work with me. So you might start off with me and hate what I'm doing. You could easily transfer to another web designer. You could call Christian and say, it's built on WordPress. And he's like, yeah, I can pick it up from there. Whereas when you use a lot of these other platforms, or if you even the custom build, unless you're a huge company, you do a custom build, you're kind of beholden to that person that built it. Because although a lot of the coding is similar, everybody will code differently. Everybody will use different nomenclature. So you want to make sure that you use something as a small business, because as I said in the beginning, we focus on small businesses. So most of the businesses that we deal with don't have, you know, $300 a month to pay someone to be their webmaster or to go in and change things. Whereas if you used WordPress, there's so much information available on YouTube that, you know, if you Christian has built it and then you want to add additional things, and you know, I'm not sure how you work with the additions, Christian, but you know, there's enough information available that you can be self-sufficient, and I think everybody wants that.
Right. What we usually do at CDG is when a client wants more pages added on or more functionality, we just build them a small fee and then we'll do it. Or if they don't want to go that route, we also show them how to manage the content too. Especially if it's something small that maybe they just want a sentence change or a picture swapped out. We normally don't charge for changes like that because it's just one or two clicks.
Yeah.
So we usually train our clients how to manage that side of it, and it's not very technical, as you and me both know. It's the WordPress builder is drag and drop. It's what you see is what you get.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so important to support small businesses.
It is, especially in this day and age. Yes.
And honestly, if I ever needed web design, I'd probably go to you, Christian, because especially after yesterday with the help with that StreamYard thing, I just think you're very good at helping people.
I try my very best to help everybody out. Where it's not just about building their website and being done with a client. We want to see our clients benefit from our services.
And the other thing to keep in mind, if done properly and as a wider business strategy, your website becomes your employee that is always in, never complains, always says exactly what you want him to say, or is always selling.
Mm-hmm.
And this is why, like, it baffles me quite often when I'll get a call from a client and said, you know, my website's down. I'm like, how long has it been down? And like, I don't know. So one of the, I guess, hacks or tips I give people, make your website your homepage when you log into your browser. Because if you wouldn't have an employee and not talk to them for 3 months. You wouldn't have an employee and not give them some additional training or additional coaching for 3 months. So your website is that employee. Your website is that tool that you have that when you're sleeping, it's working. And as I said, it's saying exactly what you want it to say. I've worked in sales most of my life. I've worked and trained people. And you're never going to find people that are going to do it exactly how you tell them to do it every single time.
Mm-hmm.
But the website will.
That's right. That's exactly right. Your website should be an extension of your overall business. The businesses should have two storefronts, a physical one and an online one. And your website needs to reflect that.
Precisely.
And Anthony, we did not get a chance to show your slides yet. I would like to pull those up and just have you give us just have you go over them with us so people can have some reference material to take notes by. So I'm going to put that on the screen. Give me just a second, please.
And for anyone out there, I would just encourage them, you know, if you have something that you're good at, if you have a passion, give it a go as a business, because there's always people looking for what you're doing probably. You just need to put yourself where they are. So just as a summary, we are Astor Business Centers. You can just go through the slides, Christian.
Okay.
As I was saying about the pin, if you do the right things but in the wrong order, you're not going to unlock the full benefits. You need to protect your privacy, establish that physical presence, build your EIN, and project a more professional image. And we just talked a little bit about privacy because we tend to have a high proportion of female business owners. And I love and actually prefer working with female business owners because they tend to know what they want. they tend to be much better prepared than us men, and they tend to make decisions in a way that is less, how can I say, is easier for us to service their needs, because they'll make a decision and they'll allow you as the consultant to give give input and guide them, but they'll make decisions. Next up, as I said, have you ever used Google Earth? I've been very nosy and just looked up people's addresses, and it's quite scary, the level of detail, depending on when Google came through to do the scan. It's scary, the level of detail sometimes people can see about your home. Next up, you just want to have that physical presence. So if you are a web designer, for example, like Christian, and you're really trying to get some more business in Tampa Bay, you want to establish that business address in Tampa Bay and do your SEO behind that. Google likes local, so you want to make sure that people who are local, physically local to that address, are going on Facebook, going on Google, doing Google searches, etc., because it's gonna see where that person is physically, and Google likes for local businesses to succeed, in the sense that they will weight towards a local business as opposed to a national, organically, all things being equal.
Right. And we're going to be covering that shortly.
And like I said, building your business credit. So make sure that you build your EIN, but you have to do it in the right way. And a business address and a business phone number are two vital parts of building that EIN, that you can get credit without using your social security number. And we can close the slides on that.
Okay. We still have a few more slides here if you want to go over them.
It was just saying really around the credit, and then I guess the philosophy that I try to live by, which is the last slide, which is to leave everything, everywhere, and everyone better than how you found it.
Right. Yes, those are all really key points that everybody needs to understand. If you're in the business world, that business address is it's got a lot of benefits for it. You need to make sure that you're able, in general, not just from your storefronts, but like Anthony said earlier, you need to make sure that you have a good work-life balance and you can separate personal from business. Otherwise, you're never going to see your work life escape from your personal life. You could be out on vacation. You could be miles away in another country, and then you're going to have people calling you, asking you about this or asking you about that. And if you have somebody in office, like an office manager, handling those calls, it's best to let them do it. That way you can enjoy your vacation. Train your office staff to take care of the tasks that you would normally take while you're in the office. That way you can just...
Or one thing that sounds good is have your business phone switched off, but have an automated thing saying when people try to reach you that you're on holiday or away on leave or whatever. That will help.
That's good if you have staff, or if you don't have any staff working for you.
Yeah.
But if you have a team at the office who can handle some of the everyday tasks that you normally do as the owner, taking care of those tasks while you're away, that's the other alternative. But yeah, if you're the only owner, you just want to make sure that you have messaging turned on and your virtual receptionist. And Anthony talked about how it's good to have businesses being found locally. So I am about to talk about local SEO, but before I move into that, I want to make sure, does anybody have any questions about any of the content that we've just covered? And I guess not. Let me just wait a few more minutes. I'm looking at the chat here. Yeah. Pecanhead says that might be one of the things that might actually help me. My credit is okay. but can be better because it's mid 700s. But I tend to always deal in cash. All of my stuff is all cash where I go to buy supplies at wherever I'm at. Yeah, that's good. Sometimes it is safer to pay for stuff in cash too, especially with banks having trouble every now and then. Sometimes the stores, they have trouble with sometimes they get hacked. I remember when Target got hacked back in 2013, I believe it was, and several customer data got exposed and stolen. Sometimes paying in cash is safer too. Yes.
I think the benefit of, and this is the whole point of building your EIN, is then you're not putting your personal credit online. So the moment that if you do use credit, the moment that you sign as personal guarantor, it does what it says on the tin. You're personally guaranteeing it. If you've created an LLC or created an S Corp, C Corp, the whole purpose of that is to protect you personally and also the tax benefits you get. This is why wealthy people have quite often multiple LLCs, because there's benefits in having that corporate or that business formation as opposed to the DBA. That's not to say that there aren't people that are doing really well as a DBA or in other ways, but the system of building wealth is designed around having an LLC, having a corporation, and whenever possible, I do recommend that to people when they're setting up their business.
Right. In fact, when you take any basic law class in school, they're going to tell you that it's important to separate your personal assets from your business assets. That's why you want to make sure you incorporate somehow in one of those forms of incorporation. And you can do, for those of you who want to know how to do that, you can actually go to your local courthouse and incorporate there.
Yeah. It's not difficult. I would recommend people talk to the professionals. It's just like you can build a site on Wix, but it's probably better to go to Christian because he does it every day. You can do this stuff yourself, but it's very costly if you do it wrong. Or if some people their first instinct is I will be a LLC. That might not, depending on what your long-term goals are, that might not be ideal. Quite often it is. But just talk to either an attorney who sets up businesses, or a lot of accountants are very well versed in this area. They can get you set up right, and then at least everything you build is on a solid and sound foundation, as opposed to setting up as an S Corp when you should have set up as a C Corp, or you should have set up as a LLC.
That's right. That's one of the best routes to go. You need to know the difference between the different types of incorporation and pick the one that you feel will be appropriate for your business. Do I have any
with
additional
this live?
I'm sorry, what was that?
With this live stream, will this be on the podcast places? With this live stream, will this be on the podcast sites as well, or will this just be on YouTube? Because some people post these on the podcast still.
I might, if I might be able to put it as a podcast. However, I mainly want it on YouTube because we do have visual content to share during this stream. But there is a lot of good content in here for a podcast. And in fact, that's one thing that I wanted to mention about content marketing. One thing that can help you in content marketing is to recycle certain pieces you've already put out into other forms. So if you wrote a blog post, you can recycle that into a podcast. That's that, and we're gonna,
good point.
We're going to talk more about that in just a bit. So I'm going to go ahead and jump right into our next topic, which is about local SEO. Let me go ahead and get the presentation going.
I'm not going to lie, it's a very good stream, this. It's going quite well.
I agree. We have a lot of people engaged in the chat. They're asking questions or telling us how they feel about certain things.
Yeah, and Anthony, he presents himself really well as well, and it's really good.
Mm-hmm. That's why I asked him to join us. I knew he was going to have a lot of valuable information to share that people can, that when they leave this stream, that they're going to have a lot of information that they can take with them.
Definitely.
So now I am going to talk about local SEO basics. Because I am sharing my screen, I won't be able to see the chat till I close the show. I will go back and scroll through the chat if anybody has any questions. So I'm going to go through my slides here and talk about some important basics that business owners need to know in order to make sure that their businesses are optimized so people can find them on a local level. So what is local SEO? Local SEO is a process of improving search engine visibility for local business, primarily those with brick and mortar locations. And Anthony has just talked about the importance of having a brick and mortar location. And he also mentioned earlier that PO boxes cannot be found by Google My Business. You can't, if you want to use Google My Business, you can't put a PO box. Google My Business wants to see a physical address. So if you only have a PO box, then you're not going to be found online. Google won't accept a PO box as an address to put out on your profile. And also, if you're listing on other online directories, they want to see a physical address too. They don't want to see PO boxes. Alternatively, though, if you do have a PO box, you can use the address of where your PO box is located in lieu of a physical address. And some places do allow that. The PO box just counts as like a suite number. And Anthony, I do have a question for you. Have you ever had any customers of yours who have taken that option if you allow that at your office?
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we do quite regularly. We do have some criteria. So we don't Google verify within the first 3 months unless someone has a yearly subscription, simply because we want to protect our address. And we don't want people that are going to just come in, Google verify, and then no longer use the address, because Google looks at things like that. So we have a really clean address, and we have great customers. So yeah, we do offer that service.
Right. That's a good alternative for somebody who doesn't have the budget to rent out a space, but they can still get a physical address based on their mailbox.
And let me add one more thing that I forgot to mention. With our platform that we use for the virtual addresses, it also builds your business credit. So every time you make a payment, it registers as a payment against your EIN, which helps build your business credit.
That's a very important tip that other people should know, especially for people who are getting started with their businesses or they're still in the infancy stages. That's a very important tip. Everybody who is listening, who finds this information useful, please take notes. A lot of this information is going to be very useful as you go through your journey in getting your businesses going, or as you're conducting business down the line or getting things set up. Because there's a lot of useful information that Anthony's already shared with us. So what do search engines look for when they gather information related to local searches? So a local search would be a near me search. Maybe you are looking for an electrician. So you would go on Google and you can actually type electrician near me, or maybe you're looking for a nearby pizza delivery shop. You could type in pizza near me. That's common, and that's been common for many years now with Google. You can do a near me search and it will deliver results based on your location. Now, if you're using a VPN, a virtual private network, it's not going to work for you because it's going to find locations based on whatever your VPN is set for. But when you're doing an overall local search, you'll want to keep these near me searches in mind. What do they look for, though, to serve these searches out to the public? They look for local content. They want to know, is your website delivering content written specifically about where it's located? Does it contain the information showing that it's locally located. For example, if you're writing a blog post, maybe you are a travel agency and you're writing a blog post about the best hotspots in Houston. That's local content. You'll also want to make sure that in your website, you have your address where it belongs, your address and your phone number. I personally recommend clients to put it in the footers of their website, so that way it's on every page and people don't have to dig to find it. You can also include a call now button that's universal on every page when on the mobile version. That way people don't have to dig for your phone number. They can just tap on it, it loads it in the dialer, and then they can call you. They also look for social media profiles. Do you have social media profiles for your business? And is your location and the address located in these profiles? Google does look for social media. They don't just look for your website. When they're spidering the web looking for content, they also look for your Facebook, your Twitter, your LinkedIn, your YouTube pages, anywhere where you have a social media presence. They want to see this. And then links and citations. We're going to go into detail on that in just a few slides from now. But links and citations in general, this simply means, do you have other websites that are linking back to your website and your content? So back to Google My Business. We can't stress the importance of Google My Business. Without this, you can't really rely on local SEO. Nobody's going to find you without this. It is the bread and butter of any local SEO strategy. You can also think of it as the gas for your car. If your car is not fueled up, what happens? You can't drive it anywhere. So to get started with Google My Business, you would go to business.google.com and you would follow the steps from there. It will guide you through how to get listed. It'll ask for your address. It'll have you go through several steps to getting it set up. In a way, it's like setting up a social media profile itself. The steps you go through it are similar, even though this is not a social network. This is an online directory. After you set up Google My Business, it creates what they call a featured snippet. A featured snippet are those big boxes that show up on the right-hand side showing information related to what you search for. And I have an example here on the left. This is the one for Creativity Design Group. The featured snippet shows up on page 1 of the SERP, which stands for your search engine result page. This shows up on page 1 when somebody searches for your business by name. So what comes on this? What do you see on this featured snippet, you might ask? Well, of course, the business name. There's also a button to the website. If you need directions, you can do that too. You click on that button and it'll just ask you to type your start address, where you're trying to drive from. And then you can also save it for later. You can also add pictures. Right now we have a picture of a flyer that we did for our previous client, Stone Cold Meats. You can see that in the upper left-hand corner. That's a flyer we did for them a few years ago. There's a map, and then there's a street view. We're located in a strip shopping center. And then where it says you manage this business profile, that only shows up when you're logged in as the business owner. And then you can also list your service options. So we can do online appointments. Does your business offer walk-ins? Are you only doing business by appointment only? You can list that here. Your address is located on here. Your hours are listed. And then if you have holiday hours, those will also be listed here too. Health and safety. Are you doing certain things to protect people from COVID-19? Are you requiring masks? Do you keep all your surfaces disinfected? We require appointments to see all of our clients. So you can list that here to help people feel safe. And yes, we do require masks for people who want to come and see us. And we do also keep everything clean. We sanitize the door handles. We share space with another business. They're also keeping everything clean too. Phone number. You can also, this is important too. You can put your phone number right here. Not only does it list it, but you can tap on that phone number and it'll load it into your dialer. You can add an appointment link. So we don't have an appointment link here because we want people to call us through their phones. We want them to tap on our phone number. And then there's also a question and answer section. People here can ask questions. Customers can come in, they can ask you a question and you can answer it, but also other people can answer it for you too if they know your business well enough. If you're a restaurant, maybe let's say you are an American restaurant that serves chicken fried steak, fried chicken, hamburgers, and stuff like that. They can ask, do you serve chicken fried steak? And then you can answer it, or somebody else can answer it if they know it well enough. There's also a button to send to your phone if you are on the computer. Maybe you want this information sent directly to your phone. That's what the send button is done, right below there. And then there is a review section. This is important here too, because this is where reviews are going to show up. Anytime somebody leaves you a review, it's public and they can see it right here. The most recent reviews are going to be the first ones that show up. And then to look at all of them, there is a link to view all the reviews. That's important. You can encourage people to leave you reviews because Google does look at reviews as a ranking factor. They do want to see how often people are leaving reviews. And the star rating really doesn't matter. They just want to see if you're posting, if you're getting enough reviews. So you want to encourage people to leave reviews. And we're going to talk more about that in a second. But using Google My Business is the crux of your local SEO strategy. Like I said earlier, it is the bread and butter of your local SEO strategy in general. And if you're not on Google My Business, you need to start thinking about joining it now. So how do you get the best out of your Google My Business listings? You'll want to add photos of your products. We added pictures of some of the work we've done. If you can add some photos of your place of business, that also helps too. And if you can get your customers to take photos of them satisfied, maybe they're holding the product in their hand and they're smiling and happy, that's a good photo to post. If you can show your staff hard at work, working on projects, working with other customers, those are also good pictures to put up too because people can relate to those. And then going back to the question and answer section, you'll want to keep a close eye on that. You'll want to make sure that you're answering the questions that people are posted out. Again, that's also public. Other people can go in there and answer publicly too. So you'll want to monitor that and make sure that if somebody is posting an answer that isn't from you, that it's a correct one and they're not putting out deceiving information. You'll want to update your holiday hours as needed. So if you're closed on certain holidays, you'll want to make sure that you go into your profile and specify that. CDG is closed on all federal holidays, so we make sure to go in and mark that we're closed on every federal holiday. And going back to what I said a few minutes ago, ask your customers to write you a review and don't be afraid to ask them. The reason why most businesses do not get reviews is because people don't ask for them. Business owners don't ask for them. You're not being rude when you ask for a review, but it is nice to offer them something in return. So if they leave you a review, maybe you can offer them some sort of freebie. They can offer them a discount code or something, or a discount when they come back in the store. Maybe you can offer them a free appetizer if you're a restaurant. Those are some examples right there of how you can gain more reviews. If you have signs in your office or in your store, put up a QR code where they can scan it and leave a review. Put it near the cash register, near the counter. Put it on the door. And most importantly, make sure that your website is crawlable. That means that you have indexing turned on in your website and that Google can spider it. And then Google My Business also offers what are called posts. Now this shows directly below everything that I've shown you. It's directly below the review section. Remember that the review section is near the bottom of your featured snippet on Google, as you see in the picture here. Directly below the reviews is where this section shows up. This is the post section. So what you can do here is you can post regular updates that people can see You can post updates about what's going on at your business. What are you offering? What products or services are you introducing? Are you offering any specials? Do you have any events going on? This one here in this example is from Domino's. It says, Domino's Carside Delivery is a convenient and safe way to carry out. Just pull up, check in, and we will bring your pizza to your car. Carry out any 3-topping pizza for $7.99 each. Click the link below to place your order, and it's got a link to order online. So you can create posts to start generating leads. You can use these posts to start asking people to book appointments with you. That order online link can also say create an appointment, and then it can link to either your contact form, it could link to your appointment scheduling service. And to encourage people to click on that link, you can even offer some sort of discount just for booking online. Domino's could have made this offer more attractive if they said get 10% off just by ordering online from this post. So you'll want to put something compelling. You'll want to post regularly, put something that'll entice them to click on your call to action button, and then watch the leads start coming in. This is a good way to get people interested. When you can entice people to check out what you have to offer, then you can start to see sales numbers start going up. And then remember to have a consistent NAP. And no, that does not mean take naps regularly. NAP stands for name, address, and phone number. You want to make sure that this NAP is consistent everywhere you're listed. You don't want to sleep on your SEO efforts. SEO is an ongoing thing. You always got to manage it. So one way to get your business out there, and I mentioned this earlier, is to get listed on online directories, and there's several of them. So these, you can see here, online directories. You've got Foursquare, you've got Merchant Circle, you've got Manta, MapQuest, Home Advisor, Insider Pages, Super Pages, Facebook. Those are big ones. And believe it or not, Yellow Pages is still a relevant directory, but only the online version. Now, I'm not talking about the print directories. So is your company, step back and think of this. For those of you who have a business, is your company listed on any of these directories that you see listed here? There are many online directories that you can get listed on, and many of them are free to get listed on. The only thing it's going to cost you is your time to go and list yourself on each and every single one of these. So you've got Yahoo, you've got Facebook, Yelp is a big one, Foursquare. I'm sure many of you have not heard of these directories, but they're out there, and each one of them can contribute to your overall SEO value because each one counts as a citation. So the easiest way to get started would be to run the free listing scan listed right here at Yext. Yext, now here's the thing though, when you do run the scan, Yext is going to show where your business is missing from. It's going to tell you where, it's going to show you exactly what address is shown, and it's going to tell you that it's different from all the others. So this is a good way to help you find out if you have a consistent NAP, to make sure that you have your name, address, and phone number consistent on all directories. It'll tell you which directory you're missing from. However, Yext is going to try to bait you into paying for their service so that they will manage it all for you. You don't have to spend money there to manage all this for you. If you have the time, you can go to each individual directory and list yourself there. You can list yourself there individually. The only thing it's going to cost is time. It took me at least 2 days for me to get CDG listed when I started several years ago. But I did go through and make sure that I was listed on every single one of these directories where I could. I'll be honest, I did mention the ones that do charge, because some of these they do charge to get listed on. And Yext offers a service where they'll just list it all and manage it for you. Again, you don't need to pay for that. If you have the time to go in and list your business with a consistent NAP on every single one of these directories, then you're helping yourself, because that all contributes to your citations. Google does look for citations. They want to see how many websites are linking back how many websites are linking back to your own website. So,
Question,
yes,
if I could add something.
yes,
And this goes into what I was saying earlier about doing things in the correct order.
mm-hmm.
As you said, and I'm glad you pointed that out. You have to list them consistently,
Right,
because if you put a comma in a different place, if you abbreviate it differently, it will flag it as an inconsistent address. Or
right.
if you've spent 2 days adding your address, then you realize, ooh, I've been putting my home address on all of these directory listings. Then you decide to get a business address. It's a bit of a pain. So do things in the right order. When you decide you're going to start a business, decide on the address you're going to use, secure the address, then you start to register your business, then you go to the Secretary of State, then you open your bank account, because what will happen then, all of the addresses will tie up,
Right.
all of the addresses will be consistent, and
Mm-hmm.
then you start adding them on these directories, and
Right.
you're good to go.
That's right. And that's also important if you move too. If you move, you need to make sure that you update your addresses as soon as possible.
It's very true.
In fact, I mentioned on my last point on the slide that any discrepancy, like you said, a comma, it could be a dash number, a period, suite number is wrong. Any discrepancy can throw off all the data aggregators. So you're going to want to make sure that you have a consistent net, and it's 1,000,000% consistent. It has to be identical on every single one of them. If you look on this example provided here, you see a lot of inconsistencies highlighted in red. You can see the address looks different on certain listings. And then you'll want to make sure that you get rid of duplicates, because sometimes these directories will harbor duplicate listings. So you'll want to go in and make sure it's removed. You can, when you do that, if you come across a duplicate listing that shows inconsistent information, they usually have a report button that you can click on, and you can fill out a form, and it'll tell you that the information is outdated, the listing is duplicate, and that it'll probably ask you, most likely, for the URL, the correct one. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't, based on experience. And also based on experience, sometimes I never get heard back from when I have to report that my address was outdated, because we have moved a couple of times, and sometimes even I found it hard to get information updated on some of these directories, because they don't really offer a good platform in terms of getting it updated. You can go in and update it yourself, but then it's on them to go in and verify it and make sure it's correct before they approve your changes you made in some cases. And then also premium directory listings. Are you part of your Chamber of Commerce? Are you a member of the BBB? You'll certainly not want to take a nap on these. You're going to want to make sure that you're listed, and again, you're consistent, because these directories provide some good value to the community too, because people who are trying to find a local business, if they see that you are a member of the BBB, that adds a touch of prestigiousness to your brand. So if you can showcase that, great. You can also put your badges on your website too, but you're definitely going to want to make sure that you are in the directories that you're listed there. If you're part of the Chamber of Commerce or the BBB, yeah. And then mobile friendliness. This is very important. Mobile friendliness is a major ranking factor on Google. In fact, they take mobile friendliness as more important than desktop friendliness. The reason why? 61% of Google searches are done on mobile devices. The majority of the world is browsing the web on their phone. They are not using a desktop computer. And this is especially true if you're on the go. You're driving somewhere and you're trying to find a store that's nearby. As of 2015, mobile friendliness became an official major ranking factor of Google, and it's not going anywhere. You need to make sure that your website loads up friendly on mobile devices. That's called being responsive. That means having a responsive website means that your website can adapt to any screen that you're loading it on, and you need to make sure that it loads properly, especially on mobile devices, especially on phones, because it's a much smaller screen. So there is a way to check and see if your website is mobile friendly. If you do a Google search for the Google mobile friendly test, the first thing you're going to see is a little box, and it's asking you, is your web page mobile friendly? You type in your website address there, and you hit the run test button. Then on the left is an example of what you'll see after you run the test. So it'll give you a list of suggestions if your site is not optimized well. In this case, for this website here, rustybrick.com, the page was mobile friendly. They give you some links where you can read up more about how to make your website mobile friendly. And if you have any questions about that, you can always ask your website designers. But Google does offer a test here, and it gives you results over what you can change if everything looks good. Because let me tell you, it's really important that you understand how mobile friendly your website is, because Google takes this so important, because it's so important in their eyes that you have a mobile friendly website. You'll want to make sure that it is indeed mobile friendly. Otherwise, it's not going to rank well. Google is going to push your site further down the list of pages if it's not mobile friendly. And not only that, but if it's not following other search engine factors too. And we're going to talk more about that in another stream. But when your website is not following Google's guidelines and it's just not mobile friendly, if it's not secure, if it doesn't have the SSL certificate, that means that in the URL and the address bar, it says secure and it has the green padlock. They're going to push your site so far down the search engine result pages, that people will never find it. And eventually, they'll just pull your site from Google altogether. They'll just remove it from their index. They only want to serve sites that are mobile friendly and safe. And also remember that Adobe Flash, y'all remember Flash with the animations and the clickable buttons and stuff? Adobe killed that back in 2020. And for as long as it's existed and as long as we've had mobile phones that can browse the internet, it has never been compatible. So there's no reason at all to have Flash in your websites. If you do, then you need to pretty much start over again. If your website's written in Flash, you need to start your whole website over again and get on a mobile friendly platform like WordPress. And again, remember how important near me searches are. If you want your website to show up on those near me searches, it better be mobile responsive. And also remember that question-based searches are common now too. People are asking Google by talking to their phones. Google, Alexa, Siri, tell me what is, for example, tell me what is the nearest Walmart nearby.
That's what I do with my Alexa.
Right. It's important. You need to make sure that your site is optimized for that. Having a Google My Business profile with the correct information in it, having a responsive website, and making sure that you're listed on the directories is a great first step in making sure that your business is optimized for voice searches. And I'm going to give you a pro tip here for voice searches. When you're writing content, such as blog posts and stuff like that, title them as a question that someone in your audience who's looking for you might be asking. Maybe they're asking for a specific question, a specific how-to question. Maybe they want to know, for example, if you are a plumber and you're putting out content out there asking about how to unclog your drain, you could put out a title. You can put out a blog post and you can title it, how do I keep my sinks clean and prevent my pipes from getting clogged? Something like that. So something that your audience is going to be interested in reading about. Educational content is important too. And in general, you want to educate your audience. Now, backlinks. Backlinks are the most important ranking factor of all, and they are not the easiest to get. And in some cases, they can be outright impossible to get. Google hotly relies on backlinks to get your website out there. They want to see how many other websites are linking back to you, and that pretty much determines the legitimacy of your company. If you have several links going back to you and they're from good sources, not just any random sources, that tells them they need to keep pushing your site out further. And it's easier to rely on ranking high when you are a well-established company and you're a well-known brand name. But if you're not, then you're going to need to work on getting some backlinks. When you have backlinks from relevant sources, and like I said, random ones don't count, they have to be related to your industry specifically, then Google starts to view your site as an authority that they can start serving out to people who search for content related to what you serve to the public. So Google wants to see who's linking back to you. The directories are a great way to start, but not all of them are as valuable as certain sources. So, for example, if you're on Facebook and you're on LinkedIn, if you're on one of those top level directories, then Google sees that as good. Some of the other directories, lesser known ones, yeah, they help a little bit, but they don't have as much of an impact on your SEO as the really important ones do. But again, they contribute a little bit to your overall SEO ranking. I'm not saying skip them, but don't put them as important as the top level ones. And when you run your Yext scan, you'll see which ones are the most important. The ones at the top are the most important ones. As you scroll down that list of results, as you see here, the most important ones at the top. As you scroll down to the list of results, you're going to see other directories, some you may never even heard of. Their value is not as important, but it's still good to overall list in them because Google still looks for them in general. You'll just want to focus on the top ones first. So the big question is, how do you get backlinks? Again, it's not easy to get backlinks, but here are some ways you can do it. Sponsorships and partnerships. Can you get involved in your community? Can you sponsor some local events or even host local events? If you can do that, then whoever you're involved with, the organizations you're involved with, they're going to start talking about you on their social media. They're going to put links back to your website on their website. And this especially works if you're a small business and you're looking to get your name out there. If you can partner up with a well-known organization, for example, CDG, we partner up with the YMCA almost every year to do Operation Backpack, where we collect backpacks with full of school supplies for needy children. The YMCA listed us in their directory of partners. So the YMCA is a valuable link because it's a well-known organization. So if you can do something like that, that'll help you out with your SEO. Google is looking to see if you have ties to these bigger organizations. You can form strategic alliances with other businesses in your area. And that simply means, can you partner up with another business to do certain things? Maybe you outsource certain work to them. Maybe you can offer services to them that they don't offer, and they can white label them. That helps. In simple terms, can you partner with other businesses so that way y'all can benefit each other? You want a mutual benefit. You want to have some sort of relationship where they benefit from your referrals and you're benefiting from their referrals. You're all sending referrals back and forth to each other. You're outsourcing work to each other. Can you promote local activities and events? That's another thing. I can't stress that enough, because when you promote local activities and events, now you have another reason to start putting out some local content on your social media and in your website. Google's going to look and see, what are you doing locally? Google's going to see that, and then they're going to start serving it out to other people who are trying to find a local business. Can you sponsor a scholarship? Can you work with, maybe you can find an industry-related school or a college. Maybe you can possibly contribute to a scholarship. And if you can, that college or educational organization will be posting links back to your website on their website. And this is especially useful if you can partner up with a well-known university. You can also partner up with a nonprofit. And again, that goes back to what we were saying earlier. We partnered with the YMCA for a few years to do Operation Backpack with them. They'll start talking about you on social media. They'll put links to your website on their website and also on their social media channels too. And also, when you partner and volunteer with a nonprofit, it also looks good in the eyes of the community that your company has a big heart. They're not just in it for making money. They actually care about making a difference in the world. And getting the attention of local media, that's probably the hardest one out of all these bullet points. Is there anything you can do to get the attention of your local ABC or NBC station, your local channels? If you can, then that's great, because if they're talking about you, you're not only getting exposure on TV, but they're also going to put an article about you on their websites. And these media companies, these channels, they all have large value. If you have ABC 13 doing a quick review about your business and featuring it on their website, that's a valuable backlink right there. That Google's looking for stuff like that. The more valuable of the backlinks that you get, the higher you're going to rank. And the more valuable these links come, the more valuable they are. Just got to remember that. It really depends on who's talking about you. So the more well-known this organization has, the more of an authority they are, is going to help you out. So you want to partner up with organizations that really have authority, that are well-known, that people know the minute you talk about them. These are the type of organizations that you want to partner with, these top name organizations. Guest blogging. Can you find others in your industry? And maybe you can ask them if they'd like you to write posts for their website. Because if they do, then they're linking back to your site. So if you can start partnering up with other people in your industry, and you can start blogging or providing content to them, they're going to link back to your website. And every one of these citations, these backlinks, is going to help you in the long run. Google is looking for all these backlinks. If you can seek out industry-specific online publications, magazines related to whatever your industry is, whether it's food service, stuff like that, healthcare. Maybe you can put an ad in their publications or write an article for them. They will feature you in these publications if they agree to take your whatever you write for them, and they are going to put links back to your website in there. You can also try to see if you can be a guest on a podcast show. Whoever your guest, whoever you're on the show with, they're definitely going to be giving you shout outs. They're going to put a link back to your website in the description of their podcast, wherever it's being broadcast on. So yes, that pretty much covers local SEO in a nutshell there. So now I'm going to go through the chat and see if we have any questions, because I was not able to see it when I was presenting. Okay. Right? Yeah, I'm seeing that a lot. I see one comment here, 85% of my computing, I do it on my iPhone. That's right. Google knows that the majority of people that are online are browsing on mobile devices. That's why they put mobile friendliness as such an important ranking factor. Mm-hmm. Valuable local businesses can be the local Little League's kids sports team. That's right. If you can partner up with these Little League teams, you can partner up with charter schools in your area. That's great. On top of them giving you a shout out on their website, one thing I've noticed is that at these stadiums where they host these little league games, they have banners with all the businesses that they are partnered with. So that's a good way for you to get your name out there, your name, your phone number, and your website. So if you can partner up with these charter schools, these private schools, and these local sports teams, that'll definitely help you out too. Organic traffic is a ranking factor on Google. If you're going in and you're typing in specifically a certain URL, Google is taking note of that too. So that's why it's important to have your website on all your marketing materials, anywhere where you're advertising publicly. Business cards, if you can put QR codes on them. If you're advertising on TV, you can even put QR codes there, believe it or not. So does anybody who's watching right now have any questions for me or Anthony that they weren't able to ask earlier? Let's see. Okay. I am the IT computer guy for a 501c3 that helps veterans. What is one thing that you think I need to know? Well, that's a pretty broad question. What is one? I would say just make sure that make sure that they have a consistent name, address, and phone number, like I mentioned in the slides. Make sure they're regularly posting out content so people can find them easily, and that they're sharing on social media regularly. And if they can form any partnerships in terms of sponsorship, that will also help too. And Anthony, do you have anything you'd like to add to that?
No, I think those are good points. My catch-all advice for everyone is be consistent and be persistent.
That's right.
So the consistency and the persistence will pay off.
Mm-hmm. That's right. It's very important that you're always consistent on everything. Make sure that you're doing your part to market. Marketing is very important, especially digital marketing. Think about what social media networks your business or your organization is on. What types of content are you putting out there? How is the engagement? And how often are you posting? You'll want to take a look at your analytics and see which pieces of content are performing well. What really gets the most engagement, the most attention? Are you putting pieces of content out there that people enjoy? And also, when you're putting out a piece of content, is it something that you know that not only are they going to enjoy, but it's worth sharing with other people? Are your followers going to be so motivated and captivated by it that they have to share it with somebody else? Can you educate your audience? We have a podcast that's going to be released tomorrow at 3:00, and it's called Content Marketing in 2022. And me, Anthony, and a few other guests are going to be on that episode, and we're going to talk about some good methods of content marketing. I encourage everybody to tune in and check it out. Let me get the link for it.
Yeah, it was a good one, actually. It was a good episode.
Give me a second here while I get that for you.
I've already put you on Instagram anyway and stuff. And I think I've advertised it on my YouTube as well. So my new one. So hopefully people will see it.
Right. Now I got one more link in here. Okay. And then here is the link for the business scan, for the business listing scan, if you want to take this with you. So all the information that I want to talk about in regards to content marketing, that is going to be in tomorrow's podcast episode. Let's see. Give me just a second here. Yes. It is premiering at 3:00 Central Time tomorrow. I encourage everybody to listen to it because I'm going to elaborate more on what you can do in terms of getting good content to your audience. Me and Anthony talk quite a bit about that in this episode. And we have 2 weeks from now, we have another podcast that we're going to release we're going to talk about blog posting, podcasting, and other forms of visual content that business owners should be putting out there. And again, it's important to remember that you can recycle pieces of content. If you wrote a blog post on one topic, that's good because you can recycle that into a future podcast episode. So with that being said, if nobody has any other questions for us, I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. Before I do that, let me just make sure, does anybody have any final questions for you, for me, or for Anthony? Just give a few minutes. There is a delay in the chat.
I don't think so.
Does anybody have any final remarks? What I would like to know before I close the stream, what did y'all think about this stream? What did y'all enjoy? What were the most important key points that stood out to you the most?
I thought it was very informative and very well done as well.
Thank you. I want to see what our audience in the chat has to say. I really hope that everybody took at least one nugget of information that they can take with them and apply it to what they're doing in their business now. Maybe they can retweak their overall marketing strategies and stuff. I know it's a lot of content. It's a lot to throw out there. But I do want everybody to learn something from this. Take what they learned and apply it to their overall business strategy. Well, once again, I thank you, Anthony and Lauren, for joining me on this show, and I thank everybody who tuned in today for checking us out. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on. We will be doing more streams like this.
Yeah.
I do have another stream planned on the basics of SEO, of on-page SEO, if anybody's interested in that. We're going to get that going probably in a week or two. So I wish everybody the best of luck in their business. Everybody have a great day and a great weekend. And I look forward to seeing y'all at tomorrow's podcast and also in the next live stream.
Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. Thank you.
Nice to meet you, Anthony.
Nice seeing you again, Lauren.
See you later.
Yeah.
And
Bye-bye.
I thank all you guys for joining me too. Bye for now, everybody.
See you later. Bye.